Hey everyone, thanks for joining Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and today I'm looking at a brand new game coming to Kickstarter called Primal the Awakening. This is a new one from Reggie Games. It is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 1 to 2 hours to play. It's a fully cooperative game where all the players are working together to defeat the boss they've chosen to go up against. In the game itself, this can be played in 2 different ways. You can either play one-off missions where you simply choose a boss you want to go against and grab your friends and go at it and see if you can defeat them. The other way is a campaign where you're going to play through a number of different scenarios in an overarching story that will take you through and have you defeating different bosses, hopefully, and then being able to take those items and resources back and experience back to your camp that you'll use to build up your items, weapons, and armor, being able to improve your forges and your alchemy to be able to purchase new and better items as well on your next quest that you're going to go against other enemies and other bosses. And each one is going to play completely differently and will have a beautiful miniature to go along with it. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the main features of the game and show you roughly how things play. And then I'll show you a sample turn in action to finish it off. If you're interested in checking out a full playthrough video where I cover the first, middle, and end few turns to show you how the game plays and progresses, I'll have a link up in the top corner as well to that video. As always, if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider that like button, subscribe to my channel. It's one of the easiest ways you can support channels like mine so we can continue to grow and produce this content. If you want to stay updated on all my videos, also consider ringing that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new videos. Let's go ahead and head to the table and we'll see what this one's all about. One of the main features of this game, and one of the most important parts of it, are the characters you're going to be playing, as you're going to spend a lot of time with these characters, building them up, being able to get new equipment, weapons, and helmets and items, and all kinds of different things, as well as being able to modify their decks to tailor it to your play style. And there's 4 main heroes included in this game, and I'm not going to try to pronounce their names because I'm simply going to butcher it. So we have our hammer hero here that is mainly focused on status effects from what I can see in his main deck of cards. Next, we have our warrior hero with a great sword, and he's going to be focused on doing damage. Then we move over to our defensive hero, and he is going to obviously focus on defense and tanking, being able to take damage and helping the other players out and stopping damage from hitting them. Finally, we have our archer, and she is obviously going to be focused on doing lots of little damage, being able to fire off a number of different arrows, and hopefully being able to do damage to the monsters. At the beginning of the game, each hero is also going to start off with their own weapon that is going to be tailored to them. Each weapon is going to list the amount of damage that it does, any effects it has when it plays certain types of cards, and the breakdown of the cards in their deck. And I'll show you this more in a minute. Then we also have their starting helmet and their starting armor. And each one of these pieces is going to list the level that it is, as well as the number of hit points that it grants you. So this hero right now starts off with 8 hit points. And then we also have potions that the hero will be able to use. They're one-time use only potions that will grant them some sort of an ability. Each player is also going to have their own custom deck of cards like I referenced earlier. Each weapon is going to list the breakdown of cards that player is allowed to have in their deck. And these are going to be broken down into 4 different groups of cards. We have red cards that are attack cards, blue cards are maneuvers, yellow cards are parries, and green cards are dodges. Each one of these cards will have a condition on it if you play it, and they're going to have a cost in the top corner in stamina that you must spend in order to play that card. At the bottom of each card is also going to list the number of stamina that card is worth, so if you discard that card, to pay for the cost of another card. And then each card is also going to have an effect if you pay the cost to play it in what it does. Now each player is also going to have a focus card, and there's going to be a number of different focus cards for each player based on their levels and that is going to be another way that players are able to customize their hero to the playstyle that they want to. These cards throughout the game will have conditions that when you meet them, you may place a token on them or other effects, and then when you reach that number of tokens or whatever effect there is, you get to flip it over to its focus side, and then for the rest of the current game, you're going to benefit from those skills, and they can be very powerful to really help your hero out, especially later on in the game. Now, as heroes go through the game and they gain experience points for defeating monsters, they're going to be able to upgrade their cards by replacing them with stronger cards and more powerful versions of other cards. When the players choose to play a campaign, they're also going to be able to visit the Forge and Alchemist in between each one of their missions after they defeat a monster. And each monster is going to grant them all kinds of different items, such as blood and bones, scales, and all kinds of other items and herbs and things that they'll be able to combine to create different items, such as the Shimmer Blade or the Flame Tongue, the Abyss or Volcano, the Burning Stone, or the Horn Wall. And each one of these items, again, will give the players a different breakdown of the different cards in their deck that they'll be able to customize. Then they can also use them to make items such as the Red Dragoon Helmet, or the Bone Helm, the Crystal Helm, Red Scale Armor, the Reefbound Plate, the Big Jaws, Lava Buckler, and the Crystal Spear. Then over on the Alchemist side, you also have all kinds of different items you'll be able to make, consumables that you'll be able to use for one-time effects throughout the game. And if you also notice on each one of these sections, there's a level, which means that you'll be able to slowly upgrade your Forge and Alchemist over the course of the campaign, getting new Forges and new Alchemists at higher levels, granting you access to even more powerful items. Now that we've seen all the cool new features of the heroes that we're going to be able to build up throughout the game, let's take a look at the enemies they're going to be facing in order to do this. So each enemy is going to have their own board, along with all of their different cards for that board. As you battle each enemy, they're going to have 3 separate stances that you're going to have to work throughout the mission in order to defeat them. Each stance is going to have a number of hit points and will scale based on the number of players that are playing. From there, then each of the monsters is going to have their own deck of behavior cards, and these are reactionary cards for the most part to different cards that the players play. For example, if a player plays a battle card and you have this one here, this is a battle reaction. So when that card is resolved, then you'd flip over this card for the monster and resolve the effects of that card. At the bottom of each card is also going to have bonus potential effects if the monster has struggle tokens, and they're going to gain struggle tokens throughout each one of the turns that they'll pay in order to activate those abilities as well. Once this is done, then this will be discarded and a new card will be placed out. And you might even have multiple cards go off at once depending upon how they are set up on the field. Each monster will also have stance cards that are going to list its areas of vulnerability. For example, with stance 1, this monster can only be attacked in its front and rear sides. It cannot be attacked from its sides, its left and rights. Then each monster is also going to have peril cards, which are going to have different effects as well that will be carried out. And like I said, each time the players deal enough damage to defeat a stance, then a new one comes out, which will have new vulnerability. It'll have new when revealed effects, as well as new peril cards that are going to come into play and change things up. As the players defeat those stances, again, they'll work their way up, and some of the stances even have multiple cards, such as this one with multiple peril cards that'll have effects in them. And then finally, each monster is also going to have an objective. With this one, the players are trying to attack it from its rear, and each time they do, they're going to place a token on there. And when enough tokens are on there, then they have done a considerable amount of damage to the tail. They're going to get some bonuses to that. And then there's also other cards that will be affected by that, such as this a tail attack card will specifically reference if they've completed the objective, then this card is canceled, and it does 5 damage to the monster instead. So some really interesting strategies and tactics in order to bring monsters down. On top of all that, each time the players complete a turn, that player is going to have to reveal an attrition card. And based on the number on that card, that player has to have that number of parry and dodge cards in their sequence in order to avoid damage. If they have less than that number, then they're going to have to reference the monster's current stance, and that is the number of points that that player will take as damage. So the monsters have many different ways of dealing damage to the players, and they are not going to let up. They will punish you all the way until the end. Another important feature of the game is the board itself, and this is where the battle is going to take place against the monster you've selected. This board is going to be broken down into 4 sectors, the front, rear, and sides, and that'll be depending upon which angle the monster is facing, but this will section off the 4 areas for the players to be able to move around in. This board is also going to feature terrain features that are going to be outlined in the mission that you've selected, and we'll show you how to lay those out. But those will range from stones that you can hide behind or bushes you can hide in, different types of bushes or herbs that are going to give you benefits such as healing properties or being able to do additional damage. And this is just a small selection that will be included in the game. Another important strategy to the game is helping other players out. So as players move around and use their different cards, some of them gaining aggro, at the end of their turn, the monster is going to turn to face that player if they have the aggro token. So this will be a big strategy opportunity for the other players, as this will be able to move the monster and allow other players to potentially get into the monster's rear or vulnerable sides depending upon the stance that they're facing, as each player will only be able to move one space during their turn unless they have some sort of special card or other feature that allows them to move further, which limits where the players are able to move during their turn and hopefully get to vulnerable spaces. So some players might have to try to strategize and help other players out getting into those positions to help the team. And the final thing I want to show you is a sample round in action. So with this one, I'm going to go up against a different monster. This is the Tormat. And with this guy, he has got a lot of armor and he's got a lot of hit points. So he is a hard enemy to bring down. So with that, each round is going to be broken down into two sections, the monster phase and the player phase. So let's go ahead and move into the monster phase first. So during the monster phase, the first thing is that the monster is going to gain a number of struggle tokens based on the number of players that are playing. So he's going to gain 2 as I'm playing a 2-player game. From there, any round except for the first round, you're going to compare the number on each one of his action cards or reaction cards, and the lowest card is going to be discarded and a new card will be placed out. If there's a tie, you'll replace all of the cards of that lowest number. From there, then you're going to check any of his other cards for any effects, which with him, he has tough skin. And with this one, it says that he has an upkeep phase that you're going to check his struggle tokens. If he has 4 more, he gains an armor token. He doesn't currently, so we don't have to worry about that. So from there, then it's going to move into the player phases. And each player phase is broken down into 2 sections. So to start off, you're going to choose one player to have the aggro token, and that player will start the game. So I'm going to have my hammer guy start the game. So with that, at the beginning of his turn, before he does anything, you have to check the monster reaction cards again and see if any of them activate, which we do have one that is going to activate at the beginning of the player's turn if he's in the front section, which he is. So first off, we're going to have to resolve this, and it says the Tormat is going to gain 2 struggle tokens. That's not good. And then it's going to, then it says if make a crush is in play, the objective card, then he is going to activate Blind Rage. And Blind Rage says that you're going to place 1 counter on this card, and if you exceed 2 times the number of players, then all players are going to suffer damage. So right now this is just the first one, so we're okay there. And then finally, he also is going to pay for the bottom effect by discarding one of his struggle tokens. And it says players in the front sector must suffer 2 damage unless they immediately move, paying with a green card. So each one of our players is going to check and see. I do have plenty of green cards here. So I'm going to go ahead and discard that one to move. And then let's see if my other player, she does have a green as well. Oh, let's see. Yes, I will do that. So I will spend that to move over there. Then we'll replace that card with a new card. Now we're ready to finally move into our player's turn. So each player's turn is broken down into 2 steps. The first step is the movement step, where you can choose to discard a card with stamina on it to move 1 space to an adjacent space. Now, if you don't do this, you're going to gain a threat token, and that just means at the end of the round, you're going to have to draw 2 attrition token cards and take the higher result, meaning that most likely you could potentially take damage or have a higher probability of taking damage. Once your player has chosen to move or not, which my player is not going to move at this point, so he will take that threat token, then it's going to move into the player's turn, and he's going to go ahead and play cards from his hands into his sequence and trigger the different effects of those by playing them. So let's see here. I am going to start off by I think my archer is going to start by doing an assist. So she has quick assist from Catch the Eye. This one is going to allow both her to draw a new card and my player to draw an additional card. Now, there is a limit to this. Each player can only do this once per round. So from there, then that changes a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and play this one here for its stamina. That gives me 3 stamina, and that'll let me play Leverage, as that it has a requirement of 3. And when it says when I discard thrusting from your hand to take, I'm going to take a strain token. So that means I'm going to draw 1 less card at the end of the round. So with this one, it says I get to draw cards equal to the number of struggle tokens on the monster up to a maximum of 5 cards. He has 3 right now, so I get to draw 3 additional cards into my hands. And that's the first card of my sequence. And there aren't any cards that are triggered from that, so that's good. And then let's play. I'm going to go ahead and play this one for 1 stamina to trigger Iron Stance. So this one lets me draw 1 card. And if I'm going to play the blue card to do that, because if I play a blue card, I get to draw 2 instead. So I played a blue, so I'm going to get to draw 2 cards from that. And again, there is anything that is triggered by me playing the yellow card. All right, so then let's see what else I want to do here. I'm going to go ahead and play this one for its 3 stamina to play Iron Blast. So this one is this is an attack card, which has the red aggro token, which means that I would gain that. And then from there, then I'm going to do my weapons damage, which is 3, plus this one lets me do an additional 2 damage. So I've done a total of 5 damage to our monster. Then, now that that is all resolved, then we're going to check the monster's cards to see if the monster reacts, which it does. It has a reaction to that card. So with this one, it says deal 1 damage to all players in the front sector, which there aren't any right now. Then the targeted players may discard a green from their hands or destroy a rock token in their sector to avoid that damage. Again, he is not in that sector. Finally, he does have to pay the cost at the bottom to trigger the bottom's effect, which it says he's going to gain an acceleration token. If it already has an acceleration token, it gains 3 struggle tokens instead. So I did not pull the acceleration token out, but he would gain that, and that would give him additional benefits at the end of the round. From there, then it's going to move back into my player's turn to continue taking his actions. I'm going to go ahead and spend those 2 for 2 to do knockout. So this one is going to do my weapons damage again. So I do 3 more damage to him. And then it is also going to, if I played a red card previously, it's also going to stun and confuse him. All right, so first off, with the stun, I get to place it on one of the active behavior cards, canceling its effects for the round, so it cannot be triggered. And I think I will do that one there. From there, then the confusion that is going to be triggered. With that one, I can choose to discard 2 cards and replace those with other cards. I think I'm going to replace this one, as I don't necessarily want that triggered at the end of the rounds. So I'll replace it with this one here. All right, and then I did my damage already, so that's taken care of. And I have 1 card remaining, which I cannot use at this point, so I'm going to just hold on to it. Then I'm going to go ahead and reveal those attrition cards, as I don't have anything else to do right now. We'll see how this works. So we have a 2 and a 1. So the 2 is going to take effect, and I must have at least 2 defense cards, which I do. Otherwise, I would have taken damage from him, which he does 2 damage for that. All right, so then I discard that, and I draw back up to my hand size, -1 for that strain card, so I'm only going to get 3 cards back into my hand for that, and then these are all discarded to my discard pile. All right, that is his turn, so then it's going to move over to my archer to go, and again, she has to choose whether she's going to move or not, and I honestly think I'm good where I'm at as well, so I will take that threat token as well. I will go ahead and play this one here for the stamina to be able to play this card. And this one says, when I discard quick shot from my hand, I gain a volley 1. So in order to do a volley, I get to draw a card and place it in my discard pile. If it's a red attack card, it does my weapon's damage. It was not, so I didn't get any luck there. Then I get to choose a player to draw a card. So I'll have my other player draw a card. I'll go ahead and play this one here to do rapid fire. That's going to eliminate one of his struggle tokens. It also gives me volley 1. So again, I reveal a card. It is not a red, so no luck there. But it does trigger the effect of his card. So let's see what that does. So it says he immediately turns to the active player, which he was going to anyways, as I have a red aggro token on there. If there is a rock train in front sector, destroy it, inflict vulnerable. Otherwise, the active player suffers a damage. There is no rock there, so I am simply going to take a damage. Then we'll replace that. And that is all I can do. So again, we'll go ahead and resolve this. I have 1 and 1. So I did have a defense there, so I still don't take any damage from that. This will be discarded. And that is my turn. At the end of the round, or at the end of the turn, each player's turn, he is going to turn towards that player. So I did screw that up. He should have turned towards the hammer guy initially. So I would have been fighting his tail instead. From there, then I'm going to draw back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These will be discarded. And that is the end of the round. We would resolve any other effects at the end of the round. And then we'll move into a new round. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Or swing by the Kickstarter's main page and drop any questions you have there as well. I'm sure the creators would love to hear from you and are more than happy to answer any questions you have. And until next time, I'll see you later.